Monsanto is facing a class action lawsuit which has been filed by 800 cancer patients. They are part of this class action lawsuit, and they are suing Monsanto, the maker of Roundup, claiming the company failed to warn consumers about the risk of cancer associated with Roundup products. Now, this is a really fascinating story because keep in mind that Monsanto genetically modified crops in order to withstand Roundup, and that was always super suspicious to me because it's not about genetically modifying plants or crops, it's about why you would want to do so. Why would you want to use a product that's so freaking toxic that you'd have to go out of your way to genetically modify it? Anyway, and they always said it's safe, there's no problem, except the people who were exposed to it at higher levels all somehow got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, okay?
They didn't all get it, of course, but a lot of them got it.
A lot of them.
And what Monsanto then turns around and says, well, you can't prove it, right? How do I know? Maybe coincidentally you guys all got it for a different reason. Now that is super hard to prove. By the way, that's why you have lawsuits.
Yeah.
Because you get to present your side, Monsanto, and you've got an army of lawyers. The other guys get to present their side, and that's how we adjudicate things. And then they're like, no, don't sue us, right?
Yeah, so let me give you the details on what's going on. And when I said they all got this condition, I meant the individuals who have joined the class action lawsuit. That's what I meant, not everyone who's been exposed to it. Okay, so Monsanto says there's no proof that glyphosate is carcinogenic. That is the chemical in question here. In fact, it cites a report by the Environmental Protection Agency's Cancer Assessment Review Committee that said that this chemical is not likely to be carcinogenic to humans. Okay, but also keep in mind that someone who was working within the EPA at the time that that statement was released had very cozy ties to Monsanto.
Oh.
So that is an ongoing theme that you notice with Monsanto. And how do we know it? We know it through emails that somehow we have access to that indicate that they had the cozy relationship, and also that they were working with scientists in order to manipulate the outcomes of certain scientific research, okay?
And by the way, when they say there's no evidence that it's carcinogenic, that's simply not true. In March of 2015, the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer said that it is, quote, probably carcinogenic to humans. So now there's been other reports in 2016 as well, and it goes back and forth. But look, if you are a rational human being and a giant multi-billion-dollar corporation says, don't worry, I paid a bunch of scientists and they agree with me, you know to discount that, right? I mean, please tell me you know to discount that. Now, if they have neutral scientists that have reports saying it's not carcinogenic, well, that's interesting. And again, that's why we go to court and figure it out.
Right, exactly. And just to be clear, there is some evidence as of now against Monsanto that I think is pretty interesting, especially considering the fact that emails indicate that they wanted to manipulate the outcome of these scientific studies, right? So I think that's super suspicious. But at the same time, you're right. I mean, you need to prove it in court, and as of now, it has not been proven. I just want to give you guys the facts that we have at the moment. Now, the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer caused a stir in March of 2015 when it said that glyphosate is probably carcinogenic to humans, meaning it can lead to cancer. Now, the lawyer who is representing the patients in this class action lawsuit said the following, though. We are not alleging that our clients got cancer from this chemical alone. We are suing because our clients got cancer from Roundup. Roundup contains animal fats and other ingredients that increase the carcinogenic property of this chemical, right?
Yep.
So that's interesting, and so that's another thing that needs to be proven. But Monsanto stresses that the International Agency for Research on Cancer report does not establish a link between the chemical and an increase in cancer.
So they go back and forth on this, but the folks do have cancer, and a
lot of folks have cancer,
and they were exposed to Roundup. So let me go through some of Monsanto's excuses, right? And their different tactics. Tactic number one, and this is not just Monsanto, any company charged in a case like this, their number one excuse is, well, you don't know it for sure, You don't know for sure. Maybe that all those people got cancer. There's another case in Arkansas where they were by a river, and there's a company that was leaking stuff into the river, and there's an extraordinary case of cancer in that neighborhood right by the river. And they're like, well, you don't know for sure. It could have been the birds. It could have been the flowers. It could have been something else. You don't know. Ha 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 ha. Well, then if we agreed to that concept, then they could leak anything they want. They could make it as carcinogenic as they want, and then say, well, since you can't prove it 128% that it was exactly what led to their cancer, then I win and I can do anything I want. But that's not how it works. You go to court and the jury or the judge decides. And you know what? A lot of times they've ruled against these companies because it turns out, yeah, of course, it is provable enough, right? And you can trace how the people were not sick before, they are sick after a certain time. And if you have enough evidence, then obviously you win the case, right? So number two thing that they do is they ghostwrite reports.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I give you the details on this? I want to give you guys specific details. Okay. So a month before the IARC report came out in 2015, Monsanto executive William Haydens sent an internal email to company toxicologist Donna Farmer. In that email, he suggested ghostwriting parts of an overall plausibility paper to save money. Okay. He continues to say, if we went full bore with experts, we could be pushing $250,000 or maybe even more. A less expensive, more palatable approach might be to involve experts only for some of the less contentious parts of the report. Then Monsanto would ghostwrite the exposure tax and genetox sections. That is, I'm not putting words in his mouth. I just read verbatim what was in his email.
So what would be palatable is if we just wrote it saying it's safe, and only brought in the experts on stuff that's not controversial. Well, that would be palatable for Monsanto's interests. And guys, you know this, right? That corporations are built to maximize profits. They're not here to worry about your health. They're not here to worry about any of those things that affect the community. Their job is maximize profit. And so will they hire scientists? Do you think there's any chance that the scientists that Monsanto hired were going to come out and go, oh my God, it's really carcinogenic. You guys got to stop this.
Yeah.
You stop making all those hundreds of millions of dollars off this product.
No, just like how the Koch brothers, hire scientists to do research on climate change and then come out with the outcome that no, climate change is not happening and it's not man-made.
Yeah, and by the way, there's another reason why you go to court. Because ExxonMobil and all those other companies say, no, all our scientists say the climate change isn't happening. And then once you do some requests for documents, you find out internal memos that say, oh, it's definitely happening, let's figure out how to hide it. Okay, so let's see what happens. Now, the third thing that happens, which I didn't know about, and I've seen this, right? But I didn't know what the source was. I thought it was legit, right? Is whenever you talk about Monsanto or GMOs, you will get a flurry of attacks online, and they'll say, oh, you're anti-science and you're a conspiracy theorist and stuff. And I thought, man, those people are kind of riled up. That's kind of interesting that they care so much about this.
Right, and especially for people like us who are certainly not anti-science and we love scientific advancements, it makes you stop and think for a second. It's like, oh, did I miss something? Because sometimes you come across comments that might be negative but constructive, and so you might want to look into a different perspective, but then you do some digging and you're like, no, there's some wrongdoing here based on these internal memos and based on some of this activity and behavior by these executives at Monsanto. There's something shady going on. But what they do is they use the same type of tactics that our US politicians use. They hire trolls, they hire bots, and they go ahead and they attack people who have the audacity to criticize them and the behavior that we just laid out for you guys.
So I didn't know this until it was just revealed. It turns out they're paying trolls to say that stuff online. So now, if you're a person who earnestly believes that and you were fighting against people, one, are you sure you weren't influenced by the people that were paid to do that in the first place?
Right.
Now, I know you're gonna get touchy about that. So, no, I'm independent. And I'm sure that I'm not sure. I guess that there were some people who earnestly believed it. But now they ruined your credibility too, because it turns out they were paying everyone else. And so now when you see an online comment, and they do it on Facebook, they do it on social media, they do it all over the internet. And just like the David Brock's group did it during the campaign, and then Trump's people did it during the general election, So they're paying people to put out comments going, oh no, Monsanto's right. Oh, you guys, if you're attacking Monsanto or you're concerned about GMOs or you're concerned about cancer, you don't know science. Science is awesome. That's what makes us pause. Go, wait, we agree that science is awesome. We're totally pro-facts. It turns out it was all a trick. They're pretending to be in favor of science to push their corporate agenda in that case. So beware of people telling you online how the true scientific position is to be pro-GMOs, pro-Monsanto, and pro these chemicals that they're putting in there that they claim coincidentally people got cancer from, but they didn't get it from us. They just happened to coincidentally get it in the general area. But if you say they did, I'm gonna send my trolls after you.
I think the most important, this is the rule of thumb with every issue that's controversial. Don't believe us, don't believe Monsanto. You're a smart person and you have every imaginable resource at your fingertips. Do your own research. Don't pay attention to the trolls. Don't pay attention to anything. Just trust yourself.
The real resistance is fighting against Trump and the establishment. Help us get investigative reporters that are going to investigate both of them. TYTnetwork.com/go.